Hello. Good to see you.
Hey there, Revenants. Welcome back to Code Vein and the Miniboss analyses. Today we're going to be taking on an enemy called the Ghastly Flesh. Now, this is a very interesting enemy because it is multiple enemies, and you hear it typically moaning and groaning, and I'll show you why. So let's get it to come over here. So you hear it groaning, and you think, well, how is this thing moaning or whatever? Well, you can see that there's several lost. Um, all smashed into this uh, one ball of fun here. And you can see all of the different lost that have been pushed into this thing and somehow have all amalgamated into a blob of what they are calling ghastly flesh. So this is the enemy of choice that we are going to be fighting today. This thing is a very, very interesting enemy as it has very little, if any, balance value at all, and so it means it can stagger very, very, very easily. And you can see it there that it continually gets stuck into one place, and that means that you can attack it over and over and over and over and over and over and over without it actually doing anything or moving or attacking or doing anything of any sort. So this enemy has a 25% resist to slash damage, so do not use like one-handed swords of that type. There is an exception. An exception to the one-handed swords is the pipe or the Argent Wolfblade, as these do crush damage. Now this thing does have a weakness to crush in the form of minus 25% resist, and it has a 0% resist to pierce. So you want to go crush first and foremost, and if you don't have crush and you want to go bayonets, you can do that as well, as that is equally, well, not equally effective, but it is better effective than using a one-handed sword that does slash damage. There are no element resistances on this thing, so as we get closer here, let's see if it'll come towards us. So there's 1034, and then if we add 20% to that, it'll be around 1200, 1241, and that's the same for every single element value that you add to it. So there are no element resistances until you get to a certain place, which we'll cover later. For the debuffs, the ghastly flesh here is immune to slow, but it does exceptionally well versus stun and venom. And inhibit, inhibit it doesn't do as well. Whoops. 1, 2, and it will stun and get poisoned. And 3 and 4 will put it back into inhibit, depending on your weapon of choice that you have equipped and the amount of value, or the amount of stun or venom value or inhibit value. So here you want to go stun, then venom, then inhibit, and it's immune to slow. So don't try to slow these things down, as they are immune. Here at max difficulty, we have about 5,933 HP that we're crunching through, and it is much, 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 much lower at 0 star. So at 0 star, just go for crush damage. The Argent Wolfblade is probably your best bet at this point in the game when you first come across these balls, and I've spent entirely too much time playing with balls, and it's not exceptional for my health. So as you go through, if you have stun cartridges, that's good. If you have numbing mark, that's even better. And if you have venom mark as well, as you get this fairly early, you can also use this to great effect on these. Now, these things, when they do spin and move towards you, they have a 50% damage reduction phase. So let's go ahead and get one to come on over here towards us. And we do about 494 on a on a piercing attack here. And let's see if we can get it to spin. 247. So there you go. When it's spinning and going into its attack phase, you don't want to hit it during that time unless you know you can kill it, because it has that 50% damage reduction, so you're going to be missing out big time. And it is a 50% overall damage reduction. So even if you buffed up super high with all the elements and the weapon buffs themselves, then you would still be, after all of that calculus, you would still be getting a 50% multiplier at the end of it all, and all of that damage would be reduced by 50%. So it's not like just a physical part or something like that. It's outside the parentheses of the entire equation of damage. So you don't want to be hitting them while they're spinning. Just wait for them to do their thing and then let them pass by. Now there are two other places that are really prominent for these things, and the next one is the Iceless Falls. And you might think, well, this is pretty obvious. This thing's gonna resist ice and be weak to fire or whatever, right? Because it's here in the Ridge of Frozen Souls, right? And you would be correct in assuming that. However, it does still share the 0% blood resist. However, it has a 30% weakness to fire. So you'll see here, instead of doing 592, we will be doing upwards of 741 just because of that fire weakness. So we get 20% for our fire, and then we get 30% for the fire weakness. Then if we go for ice, you might be thinking, well, of course it's going to have an ice resist, and you'd be correct, as it has a 40% ice resist on every attack. So you don't want to be doing ice, you want to be doing fire. And something that's equally interesting here is that lightning on when you use lightning on the balls, it also has a 30% weakness to lightning. So lightning or fire are equally effective here in the ridge for fighting the ghastly flesh. And these things are also amalgams of you know, many lost. As you can see here, it's just these guys are green. They have green eyes instead of red eyes. And it kind of makes sense that they do a little bit different resistances here, because they are, you know, most lost have red tendencies because of the blood that they're seeking and the bloodthirst and everything. But this thing is green, so maybe this thing got irradiated at some point. And they're trying to show it off here that it's, you know, luminescing from all the radiation, like a tritium source or something like that. And you know, some way they're maybe trying to hint at these kinds of things. That this one also was an amalgam, but it was maybe reactor workers, and they were, you know, they frenzied, and you know, somehow, you know, they got into a different source of bloodthirst rather than actual loss with their blood. I don't know. That's all made up conjecture, not part of this analysis, but just something to think about. Anyway, so lightning and fire for these ones, and all the other debuffs and everything apply to these guys. Same thing with the 50% reduction on spinning. And if we go to the back alley of the City of the Falling Flame, we do find another set of balls, that another set of ghastly flesh. I don't know if it's ghastly fleshes, probably not, but maybe. I don't know the plural of these things. And so if you'll find two of them over here, and you can you know, after you've gone through the Ridge of Frozen Souls, you know, you saw them in the Howling Pit, then you saw them in the Ridge of Frozen Souls, and you kind of assumed some things there. And then you come here to the City of the Falling Flame, and you would be thinking that, well, I'll just assume some things again, that they would be resistant to fire, right? Because you're here in the City of the Falling Flame, lots of flames, and the reality is no. These are the same exact ones, 592. These are the very same exact balls as you find in the Howling Pit. Same resistances, everything. No element weaknesses or strengths. 0 across the board. Same slash 25% resist, crush 25% weakness, and then pierce at 0% resist. And same thing, stun, venom, inhibit in that order, immune to slow. and same 50% reduction when spinning. So the only different ones that you come across are in the Ridge of Frozen Souls. These ones here in the City of the Falling Flame are exactly identical to the ones that you find in the Howling Pit. So no matter what you do, go for Crush, and if you don't have Crush, go for Pierce, and try and stay away from Slash as much as possible, and don't attack them while they're spinning. And if you have the chance, always go for Fire or Lightning, as those will be your best options no matter which ones you run into, so you don't have to remember or think. But Fire or Lightning will do you well for these guys. Remember, they only have about almost 6,000 damage or 6,000 HP, so they can be dispatched fairly quickly if you're stacking up on your element resistances and you're using crush damage. So there are several weapons that do crush. Queenslayer Greatsword, a lot of the hammers are crush. So if you go for like a lightning crush weapon, you'll do just fine for all of these ghastly flesh that you run across. And they do stagger exceptionally well because of their very, 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 very low balance. I don't even know if they have any balance as a stat, but it's so low that every time you hit them with a crush weapon or a pierce weapon, they just stand there and they stagger around and move around. So anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. My throat is having some problems here, but thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.